Hi, this is part two of a video I started a few weeks ago. Repairing my cylinder head on my 914. Also had some clutch problems and some transmission problems, especially with first gear synchro. So this is a continuation of part one. If you get a chance to watch part one, you'll have a better understanding of what I've done so far. Let me show you. This cylinder head had a bad valve in it. See, I put all new ones in now. One of the intake valves broke off at the tip. And yeah, that created a lot of noise. I'm not sure that happened because everything else was in good condition. I mean, the valve guide was fine. There was no binding. There was nothing wrong with the adjusting screw. The valve seats are all in good shape. So I have to assume that this was not hardened correctly. And it finally gave up the ghost and broke off. I also had a exhaust port problem. Someone had taken a center punch and pounded in this area right here to get the copper sealing ring out. It really left a mess of this area, and that was definitely going to leak if I didn't fix it. So I found some of this extreme heat from JB Weld. It's supposed to be good for 2400 degrees Fahrenheit, so I assume this will hold up. And you can see now that I filled that in. It's nice and smooth and even, and I hope that'll work out. So this head's ready to put back on. I'll probably put it on here soon. The other problem I had with the clutch, the flywheel was not surfaced correctly. It was uneven. So I changed the flywheel, bought a new disc, and reused the pressure plate because it was in great shape. And I've got all that installed. So that is ready to go. I did finally start tearing apart the gearbox. Pulled the rear cover off, pulled off first gear to see what was wrong with this first gear synchro. And what I found was the first reverse slider is like totally worn out. There's like nothing left of these teeth. Totally rounded off, and also lots of wear right in this area here where it contacts the synchro ring. Really worn out. When I took this apart 20 years ago, I did put the new dog teeth on first gear, but I didn't change this. Not sure why. I really wasn't as experienced with gearboxes at that time. Since then I've rebuilt several and gone to a few clinics to learn more too. You see the good used one actually has some teeth on it. This is in pretty good shape. So I'm thinking this may be the one I'm going to use to reassemble this. This was also new 20 years ago. There's very little wear on it. Probably because this was so worn out that it really never contacted it very much. So that's brand new yet. I'll probably put that back on. The synchro blocks, the blocking rings here, there's two different styles. This is an early style. This is the one you'll see in most of the books you read. Because most of those are taken early on when the first 914 first came out. And all the parts, all the synchro parts for first gear are unique to first gear. Second through fifth, the synchronizers are identical, are all the same. All the parts are interchangeable. First gear, there's no interchangeable parts with 2 through 5. This is an early style that was used probably through 73 or so, and this is a later style. This is the one that's in mine. Mine's a 74. It has original tranny in it. This is the style that was on first gear. And I'll probably put this back in. If you've ever seen a worn out synchro ring, you know that they really can show some wear, like this one. I mean, you know when they're bad. You can see it's got a lot of wear, and most of it's usually right there where it's split, where most of the wear is. And this one's a throwaway. The key to repairing these most of the time, since first gear synchro parts are hard to get and expensive to get, many people will just take all the synchro parts from fifth gear, which is like never worn out, usually like great shape when you tear apart an old gearbox. They'll take all the synchro parts from fifth gear and install it on a first gear. And that's what has been done here. The only problem is that these were made unique to first gear because you need to be able to pull it in when the car is not moving. And that's apparently why this was designed so differently from 2 through 5. So I'll probably just go with the original parts. This dog teeth has got a little wear on the tips, but really not bad. Of course, the synchro ring's in great shape. I'm just going to put this back together and use a different slider. I think that will solve my problem. Next thing I'll do is pull the gear set out of the gearbox and see what's going on in there. Really, it should be in pretty good shape. The only thing I'm going to change is second gear synchro. It was grind sometimes in second gear, especially if it was cold. So I've gone this far. I got a whole new sealing set and gasket set for this tranny, and I'm going to pull it all apart. Once I get the gear set out and get that apart, then I'll run some more video. So I got lots of extra parts. So that's where I'm at now. Well, I got the head reinstalled, and I moved on to transmission problems. One thing I discovered though before I go on, my push rod tubes are, they're kind of beat up. They're all dented up, so I thought maybe I'd put some new ones in. And I had these. One of the differences, this has got a seam that runs all the way down the length of the tube. As you can see, the originals don't have a seam. I thought maybe I could still use those. If I put the rubber seals on both ends, slid it into the head, and it went in a little too easy, because the originals take quite a bit of effort in shifting them back and forth with a pair of pliers to get them to seat. These seem to drop in a little too easy. I measured the ends compared to the originals, and this inside lip in here where the rubber seal sits is a couple thousandths smaller in diameter on both ends than the original. That's not good, because down the road you're probably going to end up with a leak. So those are going back. These, as beat up as they are, sometimes a good made in Germany part is better than anything, even if it doesn't look that good. I'm going to reuse these. I pulled a gear set, as you see. Let's see what I found. And the first thing I noticed right away is that this bearing race is cracked in 3 different places. Here, here, and here. Actually 4, and here. So this bearing is toast. I have some of those, some good used ones. But that is definitely not good. On the gear set, I find pretty much what I expected. 4th and 5th gear synchro rings are in great shape. You're not going to need anything. One I was interested in, of course, is 2nd gear. And that's back over here. As you can see, it's got a lot of wear on the synchro ring. Fortunately, the dog teeth look to me like they're in pretty good shape. But the synchro band or ring is pretty worn out. So I will replace that. Other than that, everything else looks pretty good. So I'm going to have to pull out pull this all apart and replace this bearing and replace this synchro ring. I'll probably change third gear. I mean, it's not that bad. It's got a little wear right here, as you can see. And I have enough good ones, good used ones, to swap that out. So I'll probably swap both these while I got it apart. And put in a really nice set. So that's it. That's all I found in there so far. So that's all I got for you now. I'll record some more later. Well, I got this bearing removed. I think I called this a bearing race earlier, but it's not. It's actually the ball bearing cage. It just keeps the ball bearings separated where they need to be. Of course, it is broken up all the way through, both sides. That's a real mess. So I changed that out. It fits in here. It's got a retainer here bolted in from the back side. There's 5 or 6 bolts, short bolts that go through there. It has a shoulder on it, and they fit in this way. Once you get this retainer off, they come out pretty easily. You just tap it a little bit with a brass hammer or something, it usually pops right out. This is one of my good used ones. I had 3 of them. I put what I thought was the best one in this gearbox. If you're going to reuse these, when you take them out, you need to put a zip tie or something on them to hold the races where they were at when you disassembled it. It's a good idea to put them back on the same side they came out of. This one, of course, is going to get trashed. I was talking about the resynchronizers the other day, and I stated that the first gear synchro parts are unique to that gear, but the only thing that's the same for all of them is that synchro band. They work 1st through 5. They're all the same. If you're going to do this kind of work, if you're going to take these off, you need some serious circle clip pliers. I mean heavy duty, and something that locks open, because these babies are not easy to get back on. They can be a real pain. So I changed the synchro bands here, 2nd and 3rd, and the slider was really in good shape. I'd reused it and put it back on. Got the shift rods all adjusted, and I won't go into that. That's a whole that could be a whole other video right there, how to get those adjusted properly. But you definitely have to get the slider centered between these 2 synchro bands. That's just part of it. I also rebuilt the shifter console. This is the one that was in there. I didn't reuse it because that hole, if you look at it closely, is oblong. It's elongated. And that happens quite often with the nylon bushings that were used to be used in these. I use the brass ones. I like them. It's much more firm shifting, and it fits real tight, and it doesn't move around. I usually pull this pin out, pull out the roll pin, pull it apart, put a new seal in it, just put it back together. I've got this one done. I have the new seal installed. What you got to remember about these 2 also, there's a nylon washer. One here and one here. And those should be there. There for a purpose. So if you're missing those, because quite often they get so brittle after 4 years, they just crack and fall out. You should find some more of those. This one's got a nice round hole in it. It's not worn at all. And this bushing is in good shape. So I thought I was moving forward. Everything was looking good. But of course, you know, I installed a head that had the bad valve in it. But of course I had to check the other side. I wouldn't do that before putting us all back together. If you look right there, there's a hairline crack. There's a little piece broken off. There's another hairline crack right here. This is an intake valve again. I assume that's the same brand as on the other side, and they were no good, and these are no good. So my project just got bigger. I'm going to pull this head, change the valves. I won't bore you with any of that. I'll just get it done. Once I finish this, I will go ahead and start assembling the transmission and get that all together. So that's where I'm at now.